Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. I see that Dr. Swamy has an unequal advantage because he's got protection and I don't.
No, that's to protect you from me.
That's what I said.
Protect you from me.
I see. Vivek actually gave me a wonderful opening line for this evening. He, in anticipation of this evening, has apparently been having dreams or nightmares, depending on your perspective. But he visualized that in this conversation with Dr. Swamy and me, I asked him a question. Dr. Swamy had his facts wrong and he burst into tears. I do hope that this evening is going to go that way. Saloni's already given a big introduction to Dr. Swamy. There's not much that we all don't know about him. But being hopefully a good journalist, I'm going to share a little detail that will give you a little perspective on him. He is, of course, India's loose cannon, the most intelligent loose cannon that India has. You want to be on his right side. I'm amazed Mr. Modi hasn't appointed him as finance minister, because it's better to have him by your side than against you. But this is an ammunition brigade that also has a love for petunias, and he loves gardening. So there's hope for us. There might be a soft side to him that we may one day be able to tap. But apart from all other introductions to him, I think it's a very important day, really, to be in conversation with Dr. Swamy, because today is the day that Gandhiji was assassinated. It is also the start of a new decade in a new century. And Dr. Swamy has just written a book called Reset. It couldn't be more opportune, because in many ways he has been the lightning rod. He's at the center of all the discourses that have been reset. We're barely 1 month into the new year, and it already feels like more has been packed in this 1 month than possibly in the last decade. The last year, again, was a time of frenetic resetting. We had the 2019 election, which was the biggest mandate that any government has got in a long while. And then very quickly, of course, Kashmir 370 was repealed. Very quickly after that, the Ayodhya Ram Mandir temple, which has festered for almost 200 years, was settled. Very quickly after that, the CAA was announced. And much too quickly after that, the threat of NRC was placed upon the nation. There's been protests. And all along this, there has been the sliding economy. Dr. Swamy has, of course, analyzed the mess of the economy in his book, but I'm going to very quickly run through some of it so that we don't waste too much time analyzing what you already know. But some of the really stark figures is that while this whole process has been going on and our attention is on that, we have had job losses, which the CMIE says 11 million jobs since demonetization. We have a prime minister that is promising us a $5 trillion economy at a time when we're barely at 2 trillion, which means that we would have to grow at 18%. We have a prime minister that's promising us 4 times the growth of the agricultural sector, which means it would have to grow at 15%. We have a government that's been suppressing data. And we have Dr. Swamy, who's actually from within the party and possibly within the government. He certainly is someone very valued both by the RSS and the BJP. And in his book, very candidly, he said that it's not just that the economy is sliding, but we are at a time when there is so much spin and so much of doctoring of information that even the budget projections are not credible anymore. That truly is a very chilling picture for the start of a new decade. But he sits at the heart of it. And so we do have a lot of questions to pose to him. I did mean it when I told Saloni that we need almost 5 hours. This is my 3rd encounter with Dr. Swamy. And we could talk for hours, but I want to narrow focus it down to 3 or 4 things that I think are important today. One is his reaction to all the hot button issues, starting from Kunal Kamra to CAA to the Shaheen Bagh protests. And I would love to know his responses to all of that. His assessment of why we are in the kind of mess that we are in the economy, his unstinting support for the project of Hindutva, which is not where he began from, and so we'd love to know why he supports that so much. And the last would be his recipe for turning it around, and why, despite him being so close to this government, he's not chosen to turn the economy around. So ladies and gentlemen, with that rich menu ahead of us, let's open this. And I hope my first question brings you to tears. So, Dr. Swamy, the first time I met you, I asked you this question, which was that you had said that, when this government came to power, that the dollar to rupee ratio would be so much improved that, the rupee would cost 35 to a dollar. Exactly the opposite happened, and, it's now at 70, 72. And you said the reason for that was because you weren't made the finance minister, right? But now that things have unfolded, and I've just given a very small snapshot of it, would you say that the malaise is much deeper? It's not just that you're not the finance minister, but that the entire irony is that the Hindutva project has brought India back to the Hindu rate of growth. What would be your response to that?
I think there's no connection.
So will you take the mic?
There's no connection between Hindutva and the performance in the economy. Economics is a technical subject, and if you do the right things, you get the right answers. I had been maintaining from 1960s till 1990 when Chandrasekhar government came and I was his minister, that if we give up socialism and go for market economy, you will not grow at 3.5% per year, which had grown for 40 years at 3.5% per year, but 7-8%. And within 5 years, we were at 8%. And 8% became attainable. We have many times attained 8% in the last 25 years. So today, the problem began not so much with us, but because we continued the stupidity of the previous government, which is have a man totally unsuited for India as the Governor of Reserve Bank called Raghuram Rajan, who raised the interest rates successively, saying that this is the way I can control inflation. And controlling inflation is very necessary. But you see, economics is not a question of bilateral. Maybe if you're a shopkeeper, it is bilateral. If price is high, people buy less. If price is low, people buy more. But economy is a multi-sector thing. And it's called macroeconomics. What a shopkeeper does is called microeconomics. So in a microeconomics, you do something here, it has an effect throughout the economy. And you have to take that in totality. The US 1930 depression took place because the US president thought that if he managed to persuade the labor unions to take a 10% cut in wages, the level of unemployment will go down. But what happened is that the unemployment went up because when you lower wages, you lower what is called as purchasing power. And so demand goes down.
But Dr. Swamy, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, but because I told you, just the India canvas is so vast that I'm not even going to look at the early half of your book, which is to look at the British era and even the Nehruvian and Indira Gandhi. Let's not look back. Let's look at where we are. But when you place this at Raghuram Rajan's feet, that's merely...
Not feet, on his head.
Okay. Typically, Dr. Swamy said Raghuram is only half... What was it? Mentally half Indian.
Mentally not fully Indian. Yeah.
Well, but my point there is that that's merely tinkering with fiscal policy, and it's a reversible situation.
No.
But by your own book, you have said that the real reason this has gone into a tailspin is really that so soon after Mr. Modi came into power, he undertook the whole demonetization exercise, which really set the economy back, and which you say is perhaps the most colossal blunder that anyone can make. You're not a man who minces his words.
I don't.
Will you today tell us just how damaging that has been and what underlay Mr. Modi's desire to demonetize our economy?
No, Raghuram Rajan was also in, from 2014, 15, 16. I got rid of him only in 2017. So don't, you may like him, and many women fall for his good looks and all that. But
Dr. Swamy, that's way below the belt.
I'm telling you, one person who told me...
I'm not...
there was one lady called Shobha De or something like that. She told me I'm jealous of his looks. I said, don't be nuts. You see, But there are people who were all for him, were going ooh-ah, but they didn't understand a word of what he was doing. I'm telling you, economics is a intersectoral concept. And therefore, if you have policies which are bad, what happened is during the period of Raghuram Rajan when he was Reserve Bank governor of the BJP government, is he made cost of capital so high that small and medium industries started folding up because their cost of capital went up. And that's all they were depending on. The small and medium industries depend on banks for loans. And they provide 60% of the total industrial employment in our country. And they started folding up, and they're still folding up because of this high interest rate policy. So that's how we began. Then came demonetization. Demonetization, there was no preparation for it. If you wanted a demonetization which to succeed, I would have suggested that the people should be told, whatever cash you have in the old currency, you go and deposit in your own bank. And the government will take 20% of it. And the remaining, of the remaining, you take another 30, and the remaining 50 in the fixed deposit. But they didn't do that. They made people stand in queues.
So give us a very pithy one-line answer on why nobody listens to you in your own party and government.
See, my problem is I'm not just an economist. I'm also the second most popular person in the BJP today. And our Prime Minister is a very insecure guy.
Yeah.
And that's why he's got all these dumbos as ministers today from the bureaucracy.
Yeah, but actually that is quite astonishing because there was talent in the BJP.
Yes.
I don't know before, again, I have to bracket everything I say to Dr. Swamy, but in the introduction, we didn't dwell on the fact that he self-avowedly has a great appetite for revenge. And it's not just Indian levels of revenge, he has a Sicilian desire for revenge. And no less than Mrs. Sonia Gandhi identified that in him. When I bring up any characters, I don't know where they stand in your favorite, in your popularity list.
Where they stand in my hit list, you mean?
In your hit list, yes. But there was Arun Shourie, there was Yashwant Sinha, there was you, there was Sushma Swaraj.
Yeah.
There have been many people who could have been good in their particular jobs. Arun Jaitley, perhaps not as finance minister, but as law minister.
No, not law minister.
Not that either. Where would he have been good?
We have been good in fixing minister.
Okay. I'm going to draw the line on speaking of someone who can't defend himself.
Why?
Because
there
he
are
can't
lots of
defend
admirers of him, they can defend him.
Okay. But the point I'm trying to make is that you are a candid man. So you just said that he's an insecure prime minister. He doesn't like talent.
I said that in the book also.
What else would you say, given all his actions just on the economy? I'm not even coming to the Hindutva project. Just on the economy, the fact that they are making claims that you say they can't substantiate, or that, as Arvind Subramanian said, there's huge misrepresentation of the manufacturing sector.
When did he say that? After he left the job, no?
But you've quoted him in the book.
There.
You've quoted him in the book.
I quoted him in the book because...
So do you find him credible or not?
Me? Well, I mean, before joining as economic advisor, 2013, he wrote a op-ed in Business Standard saying that Narendra Modi is the most mediocre politician who's been portrayed as someone who should become prime minister. And he also said that Gujarat experiment was all bogus. And yet he was made economic advisor. So that means somebody didn't use his brains. And by the time I brought it to the notice of the PM and it got to him, he was on his way out, and he was sent out. After that, he goes on criticizing the government. What credibility does that have?
Dr. Swamy, from what you're saying, you brought it to the notice. So in a way, you've kind of let Mr. Raghuram Rajan go. I'm putting it gently.
Not go. Just said, sorry, he wanted an extension. He asked for it. And he was told, no, you can't.
Okay, so
Even Obama called up for him, and we told Obama, go to hell.
So looking back, have all these moves been wise? Because you got rid of Raghuram Rajan, you got rid of Arvind Subramanian, you got rid of Urjit Patel.
Yes.
You have someone
No, Urjit Patel went on his own. I was not against him. He has a PhD from Yale. He was well qualified, but he couldn't take it from the finance ministry, the kind of barbs he was getting. So he just quit.
So let's just finish this loop of thought. That is the RBI governor now a man of your taste?
No, he's corrupt, and I want him out. But I don't think it's worth spending time on it, because there's nothing he's doing anyway. So therefore, we have bigger problems. So chasing him is no point.
So let me just finish this, because, you know, I mean, we can enjoy the masala of you sort of doing down your peers, but there is something much more substantive at stake, which, as we just said, there's job loss.
Yes.
Manufacturing is in a mess. Exports is in a mess. Right. You know, the farm sector is in a mess. Small and medium enterprises is in a mess. Yeah. Private investment is in a mess. Right. Revenue receipts are in a mess. Right. GST is 1 trillion short of its target.
Yes.
Everywhere you look, there's a mess. Yeah. Now, we've got rid of all the people who you think weren't measuring up. Who's the last man you think who isn't measuring up that you need to get rid of?
After I remove him, I'll tell you. But before that, I should not warn him that I'm after him. I'm not a loose cannon, as you say. I have targets, and I fix them, and I go after them.
Okay, so let me put the question to you boldly.
Yes.
Today, when you're assessing Mr. Modi as heading a government, presiding over a colossal mess, give us the exactly precise adjectives and faults you would lay at his door.
Well, Modi has done brilliantly in national security. We had 300 people killed a year by terrorists before he came to power. Today it is in single digits. Nobody talks about it. We went into Pakistani territory. We were told all this atom bomb and all that. People were making all those great scare tactics, but went inside Pakistan and bombed the hell out of the two major terrorist centers. So national security, he gets A+.
Okay, just little fact-checking over there.
All right.
One is that when you say that deaths in the country have gone down to single digits, that's not factual, sir. There's been more killings on the border, more soldiers dead, more civilian deaths, actually in the last 3-4 years than there have been prior.
I don't agree.
And in terms of going into Balakot...
I'm talking about terrorists killing innocent citizens in Kashmir. Okay, that's in single digits.
Okay, so I just, again, to have you on record,
yes.
vis-a-vis going into Balakot, it was, of course, a very bold move.
Yes.
But there was also a claim by this government that 300 terrorists were killed. Yes. Do you believe that or not?
Yes, 100%. Because I talked to the people who were in charge of the operations. I've been also a standing committee member of the Defense Ministry. And I give lectures to the National Defense Academy. So they're very frank with me. Yes, of course. We have got Pakistan scared. And that he has done extremely well. In national security, A+. Finance Ministry, D. Well, when I was at Harvard, Mr. Chidambaram had come to the Harvard Business School and took my course. I think I gave him a D too. So...
I'm just giving you a free pass on Balakot because, as I said, we'll need 5 hours if we start contesting.
If we both agreed, there will be no worthwhile. Let's disagree. I have no problem with that.
Okay, because I mean, just to leave the thought in the air, that it would be surprising for an entire. Do you think if 300 people were killed in India, the entire country would stay silent about it, and so that? No one in Pakistan has claimed a body. There are no families.
Pakistan is not a free country. Here you can scream all the time. Look at what's happening every day. Demonstrations are happening. People haven't even read what they're screaming about. The CAA. I mean, I can't believe such morons in this world got together and demonstrating. Tell me, what is that one clause that you are objecting to? Nobody is able to tell me.
I can tell you that,
All right,
but,
tell me.
but let's just finish the track we were on. So you said you've given a D to Mr. Modi in terms of the finance ministry.
Yeah, finance is
because the
miserable.
finance minister doesn't, I mean, in a way, Mr. Modi presides over all of it.
Yes.
But let me also get another...
Modi doesn't preside over it. PMO presides over it.
Okay. Let's get, again, a precise assessment of what you have called spin and lack of credibility and monumental blunders.
That's right.
If it was another regime,
Yes.
would we not be using harsher words? What do we mean when we say we can't rely on the budget, we can't rely on statistics, we can't rely on our institutions, we can't trust what our ministers are saying? You call that merely a spin? Dr. Swamy, you're letting yourself down.
No, I'm
What's
not.
the correct adjective?
I'm a party man. This is not my job to run my government down. I think that's the job of these people, Chidambaram, Sonia Gandhi. But unfortunately, they're all preparing to go to jail. Where's the time for them to think about the economic issues, you see? And that is a problem. I'm only demonstrating to you that BJP is a democratic party because I'm saying what all I'm saying in any other party, he would be thrown out immediately. But not in my party. They not only they adulate me in the party. I'm a big hero with the workers, all that.
You're opening up so many avenues for conversation that, I'm going to run out of my own strand of thought.
Yes.
You do have the RSS, standing behind you. So
yes. Well, what can I'm not an RSS man, but they're standing behind me because of my ideology. The ideology which I propagate, argue. Ram Mandir, none of them could do it. Ultimately, I had to come into the picture and get it done. Ram Setu, they practically broke it up. I entered the last minute and got a stay order from the Supreme Court, and today we are going to make it into a National Heritage Monument. So, therefore, the RSS, on the ideology, I got Kailash Mansaro open. I've done so many of the things which none of their people have been able to do it. So, therefore, RSS is supporting me. It's because of my commitment to the ideology.
So, as I said, we'll come to the Hindutva, and you've now brought up democracy of the BJP and how open-minded they are. Yeah. So we'll examine that as well.
I'm the example of that.
You're an example.
They are tolerating me.
Where would you rate them on tolerance of others? Not you. Let's not make this about you. Where would you rate the BJP on its tolerance levels with dissenters?
Relative or absolute?
On a scale of 10?
No. In comparison to other parties or?
No, in itself.
In itself? Well, I would say that BJP government should get 7 out of 10.
On tolerating dissent?
On tolerating dissent, yeah.
Dr. Swamy, one is...
You asked me, I haven't come to say what you want to hear.
No, I'm not asking you to say what we want to hear, but...
You tell me one violation of human rights that BJP is guilty of.
Dr. Swamy, you're not serious. You're not serious.
You tell me one, I will argue with you. Yeah, let the audience...
Should I open this up to the audience?
Yeah, ask the audience.
Okay,
tell me what...
I'm going to sound like I'm the spokesperson for the opposition party, so let me open this to the audience. Do you want to do a quick round of what they have violated in terms of human rights?
Yes.
Anybody out there?
Give me an example.
No one wants to speak?
Kashmir. What Kashmir? Kashmir belongs to India. What have we done which is wrong? And the 600 states were made independent countries by the British. 100 signed up for Pakistan, 500 signed for India.
Okay, then...
And Kashmir was one of them.
Let me jump into this then, since, it is, the mics aren't with everybody.
Yeah.
Let's start with people like Sudha Bhardwaj, the activist. So...
I don't know. See,
this is...
No, see, you can't expect me to know everybody unless they have interacted with me. No one has told me anything about her. You tell me what has happened to her, and I'll tell you what the problem is.
The moment anybody dissents today, we're called anti-national. You're called disruptors, urban nakshals. For people sitting in quorum, it's okay, but people on the ground are being arrested.
Yes.
Muzaffarnagar, they were arrested. You have people like sitting in Shaheen Bagh. These are women sitting there protesting. It's their right to protest. You have a BJP minister who says, beware the women of Shaheen Bagh and the lakhs of people who come there. They will come into your house and rape your daughters. Do you find that acceptable, sir?
No, that's bad speech. I mean, that's, he shouldn't talk like that. That's a different matter. But Muzaffarnagar, which year are you talking about now?
Well, we go back, of course, there was the riots earlier, but there's also
no,
now.
No. The time when we were accused of those cow things, you see, Mulayam Singh's son was chief minister. And law and order is the state subject. I don't know why we ever held responsible for it. If any BJP guy has done, please arrest him and tell us. I have not. I have heard this in Rajasthan, the cow vigilantes. I've investigated every one of those issues. And none of them are BJP.
No, they may not be BJP, sir, but they are foot soldiers of the larger Sangh Parivar.
No.
You know, you specifically...
I know the Sangh Parivar better than you. That much you admit. I am telling you, produce somebody or name him. I will investigate and tell you whether he has anything to do with the Sangh Parivar. Not at all. So there's so much rubbish going on. I was dismissed from the IIT. How many of you spoke up?
So we can't, I mean, I was probably in my diaper at that time. You know, so
but there was one place you did misbehave with me, I'll tell you. And that was when Harvard took up a panga with me about an article I wrote, or a book I wrote. And you were at that time in NDTV, I think.
No, at Tehelka.
Tehelka, yeah. And what you wrote in Tehelka and NDTV, all these people were celebrating my my discomfiture, if you want to call it, at Harvard.
But sir, that's because, again, you are somebody whose intelligence is not in doubt. Your integrity is not in doubt.
Okay.
But when you say that unless Muslims accept their Hindu origin, they should not have citizenship.
Yes. No, I didn't say citizenship.
You know,
I said
they should not have
the right
voting
to vote.
rights.
Yeah.
So I think, sir, then our criticism of that is very well placed.
But it is true. The DNA says that all Muslims have the same DNA as us. So what's the difficulty in their admitting to it? So see, the Indonesians, they have called their airline Garuda, and their 20,000 rupee note, Rupaya as it's called, has Ganesh on it, see. And they say we have changed our religion, but we have not changed our culture. Why can't the Muslims be like that? That's all I said. And I didn't say, I'm in no position to deprive anybody of his... I am in no position to deprive anybody of his voting rights. I only made a suggestion.
Yeah,
but
like
Harvard had no business. I only went to Harvard on the condition, and they knew me all along as a BJP member, a Jansangh member. Okay, and suddenly these kooky Indians who have gone there, they ganged up, and then the India studies people who don't like my theory, that Aryan Dravidian theory is bogus, they ganged up, and they passed a resolution in a catalog committee against me, when the Department of Economics said that we have nothing but praise for him, he has done so much research, his students are very happy with him. All that was behind my back without even asking me. And they told me that I'm an undesirable character. I said, to hell with you, I'll not come again.
So I'm not going to deny that there's illiberalism within the liberal class.
So therefore, India has had, including the emergency. Were you born then or not?
Yes, I was.
Emergency was so terrible. I mean, I can't believe the Congress party should be forever consigned to the dustbins of history, but you are still thinking that Congress is more liberal than us?
No, but
Sikhs, genocide of Sikhs.
No, Dr. Swamy.
Genocide of Muslims in Hashimpura. Nobody talks about them.
So, like I said, you know, we're going to go off the rails because you're throwing so many smoke signals.
I agree, but...
I'm just going to bring this conversation back.
All right, please.
Let me set some ground rules on our conversation, which is that none of the challenge that one is posing to this government or to you as a spokesperson of the government is to...
No, I'm not a spokesperson.
Well, right now as a representative of the government.
No, I'm a fatherly figure for them.
Okay. That puts you in a position of great responsibility
for
the debacle around us.
Of course. But I only spank when necessary, otherwise I don't want.
So I just want to lay out that we are going to run out of time. If we go into the...
Sure. I'll make short answers.
No, I'm saying... If we go into the delinquencies of the Congress, let's just take that as for granted, that the emergency was bad, Sikh riots was bad, we know the things that are bad.
Yeah.
Let's not have a childish conversation.
All right. No, it's not childish.
No, because we know those things
Because
are bad.
I asked you what the standards were. So you asked me from 0 to... 7 is higher than Congress. Congress is maybe 2 or 1.
You're not being a very good economist now, but
Well,
this is not good accounting at all, but never mind.
you're from the journalist world. Journalism has always been complicit with Congress party, and that's why we are having a hard time today.
Okay, now that gives me a perfect, I'm not going to even start, you're throwing so many accusations at me, I'm not going to defend it, because that's not what we're here for. I'm, sir, making no allegations on you.
Yes.
I'm asking you specific questions.
Yes.
You just said that journalists were complicit with the Congress.
Yes.
You've now opened a whole new conversation.
Yes.
Would you accept today that there's a part of the media that is not just complicit with the BJP, they're literally extensions of the BJP? Let's take the Kunal Kamra episode. You don't like people misusing power. I'll hand it to you. You pick fights with people your own weight. You don't fight below your weight. What do you think of the Kunal Kamra episode where aviation minister asks a private sector airlines to debar a man from flying without even an inquiry or a committee report on it? What's your take on that? And we know who would have picked up the phone and called the minister to make this happen.
Well, I don't like him either. I mean, the guy who picked up the phone and called the minister, I don't think much of him
This
either.
is the most coy I've ever seen you on anybody. Why don't you name him and tell us what you think about him?
Well, everybody knows what I said to him in the Republic TV, Mr. Arnab Goswami. He is, the less said about him, the better. I mean, because I might say something which is explicit here. The issue is this: when there's an injustice done to an individual, there are methods by which you can vindicate yourself. A matter like this, where your fundamental right has been deprived to travel, it's a fundamental right. You go to court.
Will you be his defense lawyer?
Why should I? Kapil Sibal is there, and all these other people are there. I mean, I am BJP. Why should I? And I can do other cases. And I'm, in fact, very busy with several cases. But I am saying the way is there, and Kapil Sibal is all the time in the court.
So let's not get into the minutiae of who will be his lawyer. I only want you to know if you can be his lawyer.
How can I be
okay,
his
but
lawyer?
but you think
Will
this
you
has
trust
been
me?
Outrageous? You would accept it's
No,
outrageous?
I don't know anything about it, but I certainly
you know
don't-
about
I
it.
certainly know this much, that Mr. Arnab Goswami doesn't deserve any civil rights if I had my way.
Now let's come to the CAA and the NRC. Before we get into that entire issue, and it's a
Yeah.
burning issue, I want to tell the audience
Yes.
that Dr. Swamy, in his book on the economy, is talking about not just resetting the economy in terms of abolishing income tax or increasing fixed rate interests, or so it's not merely the surface tinkering or structural tinkering. He's actually also advocating the vision of Deen Dayal Upadhyay, which is integral humanism, as being the bulwark out of which a new idea of Indian economy should rise. In that, sir, you have said that the core ideas of Hindutva
Yes.
is conflict resolution,
Yes.
is harmonization,
That's right.
is that class struggle is inhuman,
Yes.
that every civilization has a soul force called
Yes.
the Chitti,
Chiti, yes.
and that our economy should now arise out of our consciousness of the Chitti.
Yeah.
You
A blending of materialism and spiritualism.
Yes. You speak about an economy that's based out of an idea of dharma,
Yes.
which will be not just your individual swarth or
Yes,
selfishness
that's right.
and your material progress,
Yes.
but the good of all.
Yes.
Now, all these, sir, they sound very good,
Mm.
but there are some disturbing underlayers to it. Let's start with conflict resolution.
Yes.
When you say that that is the absolute, the bedrock
Yes.
of Hindutva,
Yes.
let's look at the BJP's record of conflict resolution.
Okay.
Let's look at the RS's record of conflict
Yeah.
resolution. You don't agree with Gandhi, you shoot him.
Who?
The
RSS?
Godse.
Godse is not RSS.
Well, he came out of that.
You're not Congress, right?
No, I'm not Congress.
But everybody perceives you as Congress.
No, they don't.
And the same way,
If somebody does that, that's
No,
their
no,
right. It's their right.
listen, I have a daughter who's in journalism. She doesn't agree with anything I say. She's often critical. But I have no problem with her. She married a Muslim. I didn't object. I, in fact, conducted the wedding.
No, we're talking individually. We're
So,
I'm talking about your the
so you
larger
are
Sangh
asking-
Parivar.
No, Sangha Parivar, RSS had nothing to do with Gandhi's murder. And I have been doing research, which I'll come out with. Maybe I'll write a book, to give the entire picture. I can, in say, less than a minute, tell you some blatant things about the assassination, which should worry you as to whether a proper work was done as to who and who all did it, not who did it. I certainly, Godse pulled the trigger, and he shot him twice, right? But Gandhi's body had 4 bullet wounds, and none of the bullets were available for autopsy. There was no autopsy done, that is, no postmortem done. Why? Gandhi was alive 40 minutes. These are all recorded. Huh? I can produce you the documents. 40 minutes after being shot by Godse, he was alive. He was not taken to the hospital. He was taken to the Birla house and put on the floor. He wanted water. They gave him a glass of water to drink, which is they're not supposed to have done. And he died there. Now, these are all facts which have not come. How did RSS gain by this assassination? Not at all. By killing Gandhi, we empowered Jawaharlal Nehru, who was more anti-Hindu than Gandhi was.
Okay, I'm going to take the blame for this because I'm opening up a Pandora's box, which we don't have the time to address.
You can have a separate...
yeah, we need a separate session on that because, as I said, I'm not going to go into the Nehruvian era and all of that. The reason I was saying that is that whoever, Godse certainly shot the bullet.
He is not RSS.
But he came out of that ideology of Savarkar and all of that. Okay, but let's come to the contemporary situation.
Every Hindu is a RSS man then.
When you say that conflict resolution is the idea that drives the Hindutva ideology,
yes.
Let's take something as immediate as the NRC and the Shaheen Bagh protesters.
Sure.
These are dissenters.
Yes.
They have fear,
Yes.
whether it's uninformed or not, we'll come to separately. But there's dissent and there's fear. Where has there been an outreach to even go and speak to them? The Prime Minister, the Home Minister has repeatedly said that out of 400 universities, 22 are protesting, we don't care. Let them protest as much as they want, we're not going to roll it back. And then the rhetoric has gone worse and worse, where you've called them rapists, or Home Minister has said, press the button so hard, the current will go to Shaheen Bagh. How does this constitute conflict resolution, sir?
Well, see, you can have conflict resolution if there is something clearly defined as a conflict. They are saying that first they said CAA. Are you still sticking to opposition to CAA?
Yeah, if we can address a conflict, or you want to define what's not wrong with CAA, I'm fine with that.
There's nothing there which I was a member of parliament who participated in the debate on behalf of the party, and I've read every clause. I just don't know which clause you people are objecting. You're saying you have left the Muslims out. We haven't left the Muslims out. We have left those Pakistani, Afghanistani, Bangladeshi Muslims who have come to India under the persecution due to religious grounds. Now, how do you expect a Muslim from Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh to come to India for persecution on religious basis? It's a Darul Islam. All these 3 countries are Darul Islam. So how can they come on that basis? Shias do face persecution, but they have all migrated to Iran. And Ahmadiyas have gone to Bahrain. The Pakistanis who came to our country, or the Bangladeshis who came to the country, they never wanted our citizenship. For other reasons they came. Tariq Fateh, he said, I was too close to Pakistan, I'll take Canadian citizenship. And Taslima, she didn't want Indian citizenship, she took a Swedish citizenship.
But we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about the principle of it.
All
sir.
right, what is the principle? That those who came to India since 1947 due to religious persecution. They will be given citizenship if they have been 5 years before 31st December 2014. That's what the bill says. Now, what's wrong with that?
So, sir, there was already provision. Let me spell out, since you know why there's nothing wrong with it,
Yes.
and it's been pushed through by Parliament.
Yes.
So let's take for
And
that we
of
know your
course,
position.
yeah,
That there
some
is,
opposition parties also voted
Yeah,
for us,
so-
including Trinamool.
so your position is that there's nothing constitutionally wrong about it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if I may put out what people are afraid of and what
Yeah.
they're seeing as
Ah.
problematic.
Fear.
One is fear and the other is problematic.
Okay.
Which is that if the intention was to give citizenship to refugees,
Yes.
no one
Not
in the
refugees. Refugees.
persecuted,
Yes.
religiously persecuted.
Yes.
The numbers are quite small, so it could have been done
31,000.
31,000. It could have been done administratively. Just hear me out, sir. It could have been done administratively.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's already provision for people to get citizenship. They have to wait 11 years. This has merely been fast-tracked.
Yes.
So if you wanted to fast-track it, you could have done it administratively.
Yes.
What the opposition to this is that Indian citizenship has never been based on the idea of religion. Today, by signaling that Muslims will not be part of this, even if you're
They can't
fast-tracking
be.
it.
They are not there. They're not in the list.
No, they're not in the
I'm
list
going to
because you have
go to
excluded
Pakistan,
them.
catch one and say, because to satisfy Ms. Chowdhury, I have to
No,
have one
but
person.
why are you specifically amending a citizenship bill
I have not
when there is provision for those people to get citizenship?
Because I want to fast track it. I want to end this chapter. This chapter started in 1947 when the Congress Working Committee in 26 November 1947 passed a resolution saying that all those Hindus and Sikhs, they mentioned only two, Hindus and Sikhs who have come under because of religious persecution since August 15th, 1947, they must be given citizen. That's the first. After that, Mahatma Gandhi, 1 month before getting assassinated, he said, my heart goes out to those Hindus and Sikhs who have come because of religious persecution. They should be given citizenship. The last person, and I can go on and on, I don't want to take your time. The last person who said it was on 2003 on the floor of Rajya Sabha, and we got a tape. Nowadays we can get tapes of parliamentary proceedings since 2001. 2003, Manmohan Singh, leader of the opposition of Congress party, he says to Advani, Advani ji, please show some concern for those Hindus and Sikhs who came to this country due to religious persecution. They've waited long enough, give them citizenship. Okay. Now, we have done what they've been asking us to do. Now, suddenly you say, why did you do it? Now, Congress party did a somersault because instead of, the previous Congress leadership, a new leadership has come. They say we have nothing to do with them.
Okay, so, sir, I think there are 2-3 points to be made over here, which is that even assuming that there have been other governments that have raised this, like the Uniform Civil Code, it's part of the directive principles. These are all issues that were there.
Yeah.
Even when the CAA was passed, there was not this level of protest. If you look at what triggered the protest, and that's where, sir, I will ask for your honesty now in examining the intention of the party.
That's right.
And
I'm a lawyer too, remember.
Yes.
I'm not obliged to tell the truth always.
That's a dead giveaway now.
Anyway, tell me.
Thank you for being that honest at least.
No, I'm always
You're being
honest
about the fact that you're going to be dishonest now.
No, I can be, I said.
You can be, yes.
Not necessarily here.
Okay, but you know that despite the jousting that we have done, I do believe in your capacity to speak the truth.
Yes.
So today, I'm asking you, sir, because it is a big issue, that if the intention of the government, like when Mr. Manmohan Singh said it, it doesn't strike fear in the heart of people. That is something that this government needs to introspect on.
Amit Shah looks fat and like a thug. See, that's why you're getting
I'm glad
scared.
you're speaking the truth, sir.
No.
But
he's not a thug. He looks like a thug, but he's not a thug.
Jokes apart. Jokes apart, sir. When the intention, if you will examine the intention of the government, the CAA was passed. There wasn't that much protest. There was a little bit of anxiety, but there wasn't protest. Then we have the Prime Minister.
I'll let it pass.
The Prime Minister and Amit Shah. The NRC exercises undertaken in Assam. It goes badly. 19 lakh people are left out of the rolls. only 5 lakh are actually Muslims, the rest are Hindus, at
Yeah.
which point the whole thing starts to escalate. We have the Mr. Amit Shah saying, "Aap chronology samjhiye." We have passed the CAA, now we will do the NRC, और फिर चुन के घुसपैठियां निकालेंगे इस country से.
Yes.
You have the Prime Minister saying, when there's a bit of protest, it's good we passed the CAA, and now we will do the NRC, because उनके कपड़े से पता चल जाता है that we were right to pass this. So what is the dog whistling that is going on? Are you comfortable with that? Does that sit with the glorious idea of Hindutva?
No, no. I mean, don't give me two alternatives there. There's a third alternative also. There is no NRC bill for the whole country, still even the draft stage. So how can I comment on NRC when I don't know what's in it? Now,
But
as far as Assam is concerned, we have got bangings from the Supreme Court. Actually, Rajiv Gandhi had made a commitment in 1985 to bring on NRC. He did not. Supreme Court then, as subsequent to every government, they have subsequently asked them, where is the NRC? This time they said, we will take up a contempt of court case against you, your government. This is what they told us. We have prepared it. There were howls. Of course, as you correctly said, there are 3 times more Hindus in that banned list than Muslims. So the Supreme Court said, have another look, have an investigation. So we are doing that for Assam. Now for the whole India, Mr. Amit Shah did say that why only Assam? Let's have it for the whole country. Guspet, who wants Guspets, you see? India is not a dharamshala that anybody can come with his bedroll and put here and go to sleep, you see. After all, why did we create Pakistan? No, wait a minute. See, this is an important conceptual point. Why did we create Pakistan? Those Muslims who don't want to live in India, we cut a part of our India and gave it to them. Said, you have your own country. Now, having got your own country, you come back to my country, then you bring back a part of the land also, then I will welcome you. But when I've given you land to live separately, how can you come back to my country illegally, that too? Legally, there is a procedure. If you come legally, we'll give you. But there's a procedure under Section 6 of the Citizenship Act. So therefore, when I have not, first of all, I have not seen the NRC. Nobody has seen it. I don't know how you can protest on it. And just because Mr. Amit Shah made this statement, you're getting excited. Why should you get excited till it comes to Parliament?
So what is your proposition over here? One, it's very interesting. Whenever things go wrong, suddenly the BJP is very happy to fulfill the unfinished agenda of the Congress. You constantly hark back, ye to Congress ki idea tha.
No,
we are humbly fulfilling the Congress's bad ideas.
We are fulfilling.
You should have...
Ram Mandir,
but
Rajiv Gandhi and Narasimha Rao did much more than Narendra Modi. I can say it publicly because I have followed this from that time when Rajiv Gandhi and I were almost we were in coalition, Janata Party and Congress. But I still say that he did good work, we remember it. Narasimha Rao did good work, we remember it. Here, Congress should take responsibility. We were wrong, we didn't understand. The previous leaders were stupid, they did this. But today, we are now enlightened and we are against it. Let them say that.
okay, I'm not even interested in the Congress because they're not in power, sir.
Yeah.
They have, as I said, let's set the parameter of the conversation.
Yeah.
We know what's wrong with the Congress. Let's not waste time on that.
No, you're the master. You tell me what the parameters are.
Okay. So the question I'm putting to you is that now the reflex action is to say, where is the NRC? It doesn't exist. It's part of the BJP manifesto. Hold on, sir. And I'm asking you, what is your proposition right now? That the finance minister's claims in the budget are untrustworthy and not credible.
Yes.
We should not trust the finance minister. When our home minister repeatedly says the NRC will go through in the entire country, we are not supposed to protest because now we shouldn't believe in the home minister also. Is that your proposition?
No. See, now you're being a good journalist. Let me tell you, I do not know what the NRC has. I don't think even the home minister knows. But,
then why is he constantly wanting to push it through?
I'm telling you, we have to deal with this question that we have a large number of people who have come to this country illegally and for economic reasons. If not, I mean, there may be some who have come for terrorist reasons and all that. I'm not talking about them. For economic reasons, the United Nations International Refugee Act, which they have asked all nations to adopt, explicitly excludes those who come to a country as refugee for economic grounds. They said economic grounds, if you come, you are not a refugee. You cannot be part of this act. So these people have come on economic grounds to this country. In Bangladesh, they don't get land, so they come here and grab the land. So those people who have come illegally, we have to get them out. That is the thing. Now, if they claim persecution, all the Hindus who are in that list of NRC, they all come not for economic reasons. In fact, they were economically better off in Bangladesh. They came for persecution reasons. And somewhere along the line, this act is only up till 31 December 2014. Now we have to have another act for them.
So, as a responsible government,
yes,
what are you doing to allay the fears, to speak to people, rather than calling them rapists, anti-nationals, ghuspetias,
Yes,
dissenters, nakshals? No, sir, this is coming from the highest echelons of the government. Are all your ministers now not to be taken seriously? Your home ministers not to be taken seriously? Your
Home
finance
minister has
ministers not
never
to be taken
made these
seriously?
kinds of rapists and things like that.
No,
He has not said.
But sir, I think if you will examine, I asked you if the core idea of Hindutva is conflict resolution and harmony. When we are today looking at this fear, and the constant assertion is that Indian Muslims will not be affected. But if the NRC exercise is undertaken, like in Assam, 19 lakh people were excluded. If there are people excluded in this country because they may not have their birth certificates, they can't prove genealogy, they can't prove a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that, as you know, sir, is very plausible. What then will happen to those people?
No, but no, the NRC Act will have a machinery for appeal against such orders. And
Okay,
ultimately you can go to the Supreme Court.
I'm going to move away from this, but I'll just leave this thought, which is that you know, because you're a man of the ground, you're very popular, that very few Indians, barring the super privileged, even middle-class Indians, find it extremely difficult to go to court, to appeal, to have the resources, financial resources, intellectual resources, to be able to appeal. Right. Basically, what we're looking at as the possibility of a large section of India being disenfranchised and then having to prove their citizenship through various courts of appeal. We've seen the mess of that in Assam, sir. The country is wondering why, with the economy in a tailspin, to assuage 30,000 people that can be done administratively, why is the whole country being put into a tailspin?
No, you are concerned about all people who are being deprived of staying in India, or only the Muslims? Because there are large numbers of Hindus also. Are you speaking for them also?
I'm talking about inconvenience, sir. At this moment, the presence of extra people in this country is not the most big issue facing the country. You wanted to sort out Assam and Bengal. It should have been located in just sorting out Assam and Bengal.
No, not sorry. Karnataka has a Rohingyas problem. We can't have them there.
So is this the most pressing problem that India faces?
No, this is...
Should we be in this kind of stasis?
That's why we have different portfolios. So the Minister of Finance will think of finance. Minister of Home will think of putting people out of this country. You know, and then that Subramanian Swamy, he will think about what to do about China. We have divided our responsibilities. The whole country does not think about this. Of course, you journalists are exercised by it, so you're spending a lot of time on TV. It looks as if there's nothing else in the country going on. But I will say that the NRC, when it comes out, will have a machinery where you will get a first appeal before any action is taken. That appeal is that appeal, if it fails, you can go to the Supreme Court. You got Indira Jai Singh, you got Prashant Bhushan, and you got so many others who are in your ranks. They can do free job. They are getting huge amounts of fees normally. So they can do it freely for all these people. So, and I think we have also, in every court, we have for those people who can't afford the fees, there is a provision where somebody does, free of charge on direction of the court. So I don't think this can be an answer.
Okay, sir. I mean, if the manpower lost in proving your citizenship, if that's the
No, you'll
economic
get a
activity
stay
we
order.
want, I'll go by your wiser judgment on this being
Yeah, you come to me at that time.
yeah. But
You have no problem, I'm
I'll,
sure.
I'll end with one. We'll shift now to global perception of
Yeah.
India. But let me just ask you one last question.
Yeah.
Do you think that the anxiety, dissent, and fear that has been unleashed could have been better handled by your government?
Oh, yeah, certainly. Because all these illiterates abroad don't even understand what is going on. And they have not read the CAA. Big halla gulla is going on. But they are so brutal to their own president in the United States. So I feel...
I wasn't asking about the outreach to opinion abroad. I was asking whether you think your government can handle...
Within our country?
Yes.
Yes, certainly. Because I think our the so-called spokesman could have been better chosen. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that concession, sir.
Yeah. Are you available by any chance?
Yeah, I think I should join the BJP just to articulate its glorious goals better, sir. Okay, so son, now we were talking about whether the Hindutva project has brought India also into a kind of state of economic distress. It's very interesting, Ian Bremmer, who was actually a great admirer of Mr. Modi and has written in defense of Mr. Modi, said that he was the big reformer that India was waiting for. Atish Tasir, when he called Modi the divider-in-chief, Ian Bremmer, in fact, wrote a counterpiece to that. But he's the head of a very influential group called the Eurasia Group that examines political risk for countries across the world. He has written a scathing report now on India and on Mr. Modi, and he says that Mr. Modi's government is the 5th biggest global risk in the world today. How would you respond to this?
Ignore it. What does it matter? I mean, tell me what he can do to us. The other day, some people got some 600 signatures out of 800 signatures for the European Union Parliament. And, well, we conveyed a message to the European Parliament. And next thing we know is they've decided not to take a vote.
So, sir, where's our again...
We know how
where
to
is
fix
our...
people.
I just want to point out some contradictions in your assertions. You said that dissent is very important, we are very tolerant.
Of course.
But the moment someone criticizes, we either ignore them, we undermine them, or we blacklist them, or we defame them. And then in your book,
yes.
you have said that one of the problems today, and the reason the economy is in a mess, is that Mr. Modi doesn't like people telling him the truth, neither publicly, nor internally, nor even in a cabinet meeting.
Right.
How can you, sir, say these things and then in the same breath actually discount anybody who's criticizing either as a Congressy, as an urban Nakshal, they're just, ignore it. So where's the truth-telling going to come from?
But haven't you admitted now that Modi tolerates dissent? I've said horrible things about him, but he hasn't reacted.
Sir, he hasn't reacted to you. Maybe he just thinks you're Ian Bremmer. Just ignore him.
Well, that
those,
doesn't matter.
But those who get to him, there has been consequences.
Who matters more than me? Tell me that he cannot ignore. I'm telling you, the fact of the matter is that this dissent and all these things, they are all being portrayed. Unless somebody gives me a concrete example of somebody suffering. I can give a concrete example of what happened during Congress rule. I said socialism will not work. Mrs. Gandhi said, get rid of him. I got rid of. Of course, I won it later on through the courts, but that's neither here nor there. But the fact is that these are things which are being played up. If there is any case of a person who's expressed an opinion and he has been persecuted, I can tell you that some of the channels have committed huge corruption. And in order to hide our action against corruption, they have turned as our opponents and then screaming away, saying, dissent, dissent, dissent.
So I actually, for the first time in 3 rounds of conversations with you, I have to admit, I don't know how to have a conversation with someone who denies even a basic common reality, sir. If you're not reading the newspapers, you don't know what's happened
Newspapers?
Sir,
I only read social media. I don't read newspapers. Newspapers...
So you think social media is very reliable, where there is...
No, you get all kinds of opinions, and it's a marketplace of opinions. Whereas newspapers, I know that Mr. A will phone up that newspaper and say, write against Swamy, they will write. Twist what he says, they will twist. How many defamation
so let's
cases
not go on
I have put and
opinions.
won?
You were just saying about whether there's been persecution. People have been arrested, sedition charges slapped, people write on Facebook, young people are arrested. You have police interrogating school children because they put up a play against the CAA. Sir, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
But every time I put a question to you, you say you don't know,
because I don't know. Listen,
but so then maybe you're living in an echo chamber of social media where you're only hearing what you want to hear.
Well, I have my own sense of priority and importance, and you have yours, and they don't gel. So that's the problem.
Okay.
It's got nothing to my living in a shell and so on. I move around the public, I address meetings, big crowds are coming, and so on. I meet people on airports, they all want selfies, they want signatures, autographs. So I know exactly the public mood, and this is my 6th term in Parliament. I have some idea of the public. So we won't go into that. The issue is that you say that dissent is not being tolerated by this government. But whether the previous government was more tolerant or not, you don't get into it because you are not on that of comparison. You are only on
I mean, the BJP
on the
admires, so what can I say? The BJP admires Mrs. Indira Gandhi. You know?
I don't think so.
I mean,
only Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and we have sent him packing anyway. So that's not nobody in India in the BJP admires Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And so therefore, or the Nehru family, we have suffered enough.
So they are a spent force. Let's not waste time.
Okay, let's not waste time.
Let's look at the rising
as
force.
As far as dissent is concerned, we say that who has been arrested for saying something. Remember one thing, our constitution, fundamental right to speech, is subject, that is Article 19, bracket 1, bracket A, freedom of speech. But it is subject to Article 19, bracket 2, which says that all speech is subject to reasonable restriction. First amongst them is any speech which involves talking about the integrity of India or challenging the integrity of India, that is not under the fundamental right. So if somebody says tukre tukre, there's no more freedom of speech for that.
So what about
the Constitution is very clear.
Great, sir. I total agreement with you.
Yeah.
Now, what about incitement to hatred? So when there are BJP ministers saying "Goli maro salo ko," how come there are no arrests there, sir?
Not yet. Not yet. Wait till the elections are over.
When the elections are over.
Yeah.
So you feel that this is legitimate political rhetoric?
No, you won't be arrested. You will be, first there will be a FIR, and then he's a minister, so we have to go through what is called a sanction. So there is a process called Section 197, which requires me to get sanction, or the police authorities get sanction to prosecute. Then we'll examine what he actually said. So
it's on record and you want to examine. Now you don't trust video evidence.
I don't trust your TV. No TV I trust. Not at all. I've never heard of him. So it's a problem. These are things you should have given to me in advance that these questions are coming. Please apprise yourself who Mr. Kangra is, or Kangra or Kangra?
Kunal Kamra, so you know about
I have no idea about him.
No, of course you know. You just spoke about the whole airline episode.
Airline episode. That character.
Yeah.
Why was he doing that anyway? That's a despicable behavior, isn't it? I mean, I don't like Arnab Goswami. Even if he had thrown a pancake on his face, I wouldn't have objected. But I would say, why? Why are you giving in that importance?
But, sir, okay, now we will come back to the economy because we need to open this up. Would you, as an economist, you are a student of history, your intellect has been widely acclaimed. Does it not bother you, sir, that today, almost even our conversation is now reduced to such subjectivity and such a sense of, oh, that's my wish, that's my personality, that works for us, it doesn't work for us. There is almost no norms. We have lived by certain norms, sir. It's kept us safe for many years. Today, a lot of that is under assault.
Yeah.
Does it disturb you?
No, your norms are out of date. Mine is the one that is now in fashion. So you've got to get used to it.
And your norm is my way or the highway?
No, I got the Constitution in the way. If there was no Constitution, I can do my way, your way. But I have got a Constitution. I got to face it. And it's not that the opposition doesn't have very distinguished lawyers. There are lots of them. And so, therefore, you can always fight any injustices like we fought. I also had a case on hate speech, which there was no hate. In fact, surprisingly, there was also a case against me filed by Arun Jaitley. But then I was going to have a gala time on it, but Prime Minister intervened and he said nothing doing, and he sacked the Attorney General, so the case fell. So it's not that these things are not misused, but we must learn, we must educate our people to fight it, and we must form public interest groups which are ready to support these people. And I do it all the time. Today, some professor came who has been turned out from a left-wing university because she refused to stand up and support Karl Marx as the greatest economist ever produced. And so I'm fighting her case. These things happen. And I don't think that in any society, do you think in America these things are not happening? Which democratic country this is not happening? So we have to be eternally vigilant to see that these precious democratic rights are protected, but protected in such a way that there is no chaos in the country as a consequence.
Okay. So as I said, we don't have the time and space, and you might, the moment I start citing instances, you'll say, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, for instance, the CEC, the one CEC, who had a dissenting vote, it wasn't that there was a case of corruption against him which was brought to light. There's been a fishing expedition.
I agree with that.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I agree with that. And I've told them, told my government also, this is not done. Okay? So there it was an outstanding case. So you produce me these outstanding cases. No, don't go to all these left-wing types and come up with this crazy...
But sir, you believe in a marketplace. You believe in a marketplace?
I do believe in a market. Why would I be here?
Why is it?
Why would I be here? I didn't know what the audience would be like.
So why is it outlawed in a free market space to even have left-wing views? Why should activists be in jail merely for having left-wing views, sir?
No.
It's a free marketplace of ideas.
No. If you say India should be disintegrated, Kashmir should be separated, that's not permitted under the Constitution.
Okay, sir, but that is not what has been said. In the case of Kanhaiya Kumar, it was proved it was a doctored case, a doctored video. But again, if we get into each of these cases, we won't have the time. Yeah.
They all tell lies. Don't believe any of them. I've been to JNU. I was a professor next door. I know what used to go on in JNU. And please don't make JNU the case. I'm saying that even if we wrongly prosecute somebody, the Supreme Court is still quite independent and will not buckle under on these matters. I was protected by the Supreme Court earlier also. So Jayalalitha filed 100 cases against me. I won all of them. And because I won all of them, she became my friend afterwards, and we became allies, and we fought elections together. So the fact is that people misuse power to shut up people. That has happened for a long time in our country. The first attempt to block people's dissent was Jawaharlal Nehru on Ramesh Thapar. The first amendment which came, which put these restrictions, was by Jawaharlal Nehru. The first amendment, please go and read it.
So it would have been fabulous if your government came and overturned the things, or made it more precise, so you open up society rather than...
Give me some more time.
Okay.
If I'm in a position, I will definitely knock off that first amendment. There's no need for it.
Okay. As I said, we're going to run out of time, so to pose two last questions to you. One is that your book, and we haven't had time, has an extremely detailed analysis of the mess that the economy is in.
Yes.
Given that you have stated in the book that the Prime Minister's attitude and approach is very, very problematic, how are we hoping to pull ourselves out of this economic mess, given that you're not becoming the finance minister in the near future?
How do you know?
How do I know?
finance minister I'll become, there's a real crisis. Right now we are heading for a crisis. Let the crisis come.
Okay, so let's assume that if you don't become the finance minister, are we going to go into a worse mess?
Yeah.
Is there no one who can save the situation?
No, because you need both political sense and economic knowledge. And economic knowledge means not demand and supply, but the whole matrix of transactions, how the whole economy moves. Supposing today I say, build roads, 8 lanes roads, Delhi to Madras, Calcutta to Bombay, X to Y. And how do you pay these workers? Print the notes. People will be shocked. But I, as an economist, know that is what is going to start, kickstart our economy. Because once they get the money in their hands, they're going to go and spend it. And once you spend it, demand rises and the market starts moving. That's what happened in the Great Depression.
Yeah, that's
of
what
America.
Roosevelt did. Yeah.
So, therefore, these kinds of gutsy things you can only have if you have political confidence, that people will listen to you, and also you have the knowledge of economy, that these are things you can do in these circumstances. And that combination, unfortunately, today there's only one, that's me.
So, barring you, we are in for darker and darker times.
We are in for crisis, and the crisis will enable me to come in.
Remember, I never misused power against you then.
No, don't worry. I've got lots of Democrats in my house. My wife is a Parsi. She has totally independent views. My 2 daughters have totally different views. Even my dog doesn't listen to me, so I...
So, last question, sir, is that whether you give us the certificate or not,
Yes.
we are actually very proud Hindus, even if we don't subscribe to the Hindutva vision.
Yeah.
And I think part of the pride of Hinduism, and that's again been articulated in the book, is that it is very complex, it has capacity to absorb, it is diverse, it is plural, it has self-confidence, it has withstood time. We can go on and on, sir. Why is it that the Hindutva project, as it is being articulated today, wants to narrow down our identity? Everything that, let's for a moment assume that everything that the Hindutva project does not like about the Semitic religions, about Islam or Christianity, that they consolidate as a group, they think like a qawm, they're defined by a book, they're militant, all of that, which we criticize about them. Why is the Hindutva project trying to turn Hinduism in India into the exact mirror of what it dislikes?
Not at all. See, the thing is, when I say, and for which I have been hounded in a sense, that all Muslims, according to DNA analysis, all Muslims have the same DNA as Hindus have. So that can only be if their ancestors are Hindus. What is the difficulty in the Muslims accepting that? We then become part of one family. I'm not asking them to give up their religion. I'm not asking them to do anything which is within the Constitution. I mean, if you do triple talaq, I'm not going to support it because that's against the Constitution. And the Constitution is very clear that where fundamental rights are snatched away, the government can intervene in religious matters. So I am saying the Parsis have so thoroughly integrated with Hindus without losing their religion. They have not had a single problem. When the British left, they asked them whether we can give you quotas like we have given Anglo-Indians. They said, no, 1,000 years the Hindus have looked after us. Go to talk to the Jews. So many of them have migrated to Israel. They are just gaga about the way the Hindus have treated them over the centuries. The only country which didn't persecute the Jews, our country. Muslim is the problem. Christian problem is their active, vigorous conversion effect, which even Mahatma Gandhi spoke and wrote against. I can quote you from the origin, what awful things he has said about Christian conversion. And the Islam, the only thing is the separateness. We don't want you to identify. You can have a religion. You can say Makkah is your holy place, but you don't have to look like a Saudi Arabian. You don't have to discard the clothes of India. You don't have to force your women to wear burqa. You see, These are the things that we are asking.
So when you say this,
Huh.
what exactly are you defining as the culture of Hinduism? Because when we have the Ghungat, we
No,
have...
Ghungat is because of Islam. Otherwise, in South India, we don't have Ghungat. And it's in fact, if
Well, in
you're a
Kerala,
widow,
we also had a
Huh?
situation where women could not wear blouses if they were of a different caste. I mean,
Where?
when you say why are they wearing different clothes,
No.
what are you now suggesting? We should all eat...
I am not asking, sorry I have to interrupt you, I am not asking fall back to the past. I want Hindu Renaissance. I am saying all these caste divisions are all bogus. There has never been in history of Hinduism Brahmins as people who are born of Brahmin parents. I can give you the case of Vishwamitra, who was the biggest Maharishi we ever produced. He was born in a Kshatriya family. And Krishna says in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita that Varna is according to your gunas, it's not according to your birth. That's what he says. Now, suddenly all this has got ossified. I'm not going to accept it. Therefore, I'm starting with the principle, first think of yourself as a Hindu and nothing else. All this caste, vast, everything, you forget about it. You can use it in your marriages, but don't bring it in anywhere else. So this unity of Hindus, you have mistaken it as somehow narrowing. We are not narrowing, we are expanding.
No, so could you just, it's a very...
Yeah, the word Indian comes from Hindu only. So why I should say Indian?
So you just...
The Chinese call us as Hindus. Nobody objects.
So the
communists don't object.
You just sat here. I was talking about internal contradictions in so many things you're saying here on stage.
Yeah.
You just used the Constitution as your protection. You said the Constitution is in my way.
Yes.
The Constitution, sir, allows people to have their own culture, their own religion,
No.
to have their own worship.
Not at all.
And sir, today now
Not
you said,
at all.
when you say all Muslims...
Not at all. Our Constitution, I'll give you an example. Our Constitution says that all temples, churches, mosques can be taken over the government if there's a financial misappropriation. No constitution in the world says that. That's why we didn't use the word secularism in the Constituent Assembly. Because we are not distancing religion from from governance. We are only saying you can't interfere, you can't dominate. So we have defined.
I'm glad you used those words, sir.
Yes.
We can't interfere, we can't dominate.
Yes.
That is exactly now what the Hindutva project is trying to do to Muslims.
No,
and when you say that they should dress, give up their dress, they should dress like Hindus or be like Hindus.
I have a fundamental right to say
no. You're most welcome to say it, sir.
You're denying my fundamental right
I'm
to
not.
say it?
I'm in conversation with you.
But I'm not forcing you. I'm not going to force anybody to say, but I will say that I will accept you much more if you were not imitation of something in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia.
So you didn't let me finish my point. Could you describe right now what is the Hindu way? Should they become vegetarian? Because I'm not.
No.
Should they
Vishwamitra
wear a
used to
sari?
eat meat.
Should they wear a sari? Should they wear a bikini?
No,
Should
they can.
wear, what is it that they should do?
If you're going to have a sunbath in the beach, then you better not wear a sari because you'll be dragged in. And that'll be the end of you.
But sir, there are Kerala women who wear saris on the beaches. So now
that's all right. That's their choice. I'm not objecting. But I'm saying
hope
don't say that you must only wear burqa. You can't wear sari. If you wear sari, you have compromised with the Hindus. This is what is being told to the Muslim women today.
So why is diversity not
I am
plausible?
not against diversity.
So you, sir, you are. You've just said why.
I am telling you that I am not forcing anybody. But it is they who are forcing, so I'm counteracting it. I'm saying this is what I would like. So you don't have to listen to me.
No, we don't have to listen to you, but it's very interesting that, again, on record, you said that the Hindutva thinking now has seeped down to the youth.
Yes.
There's more than 80,000 RSS colleges, schools or affiliated schools where a certain way of thinking is being taught. And you also said that you have your hand on the volume button, on the control, that in Germany it went too far. But here you have control over how much you can alienate someone and then you'll turn it back. Do you still feel that you have control over how much you can alienate and make others look like enemies and not, and also take responsibility for the consequences, sir?
Listen.
Do you take responsibility for the lynchings?
I'll tell you one thing. In the Ram Mandir matter, people said if the court decides against in favor of Hindus, the Muslims will riot. This is what we were told. No such thing has happened. Muslims have come to me also. They have been with me on television also to say if the court decides, and that includes Owaisi, by the way, with whom he debates only with me. He says the only decent Hindu I know is Swamy. That's not a compliment, but still, the fact is that the way I put it across, he has also said we will go by legal process. So that is a great thing that has happened, that we have demonstrated that we can solve a problem which couldn't be solved for almost 500 years and get both sides to accept the Supreme Court verdict. Today, I'm saying, when I say Muslims should wear sadis, I'm not saying you must, otherwise you go to jail. No, nothing of the kind. Don't wear. You wear what you want. I can't tell my wife to wear sari. She often wears salwar kameez. I can't object. She doesn't object to my going around in kurta pajama. You see, so the fact is I can express my preference, that I have a fundamental right.
No, you
don't obey, you don't follow, you say you're out of date, you're a backward-looking guy, all that you say, I don't mind. Yeah. But the fact is I have a right to propagate that our women should not ape the West. And our men also should not ape the West.
I'm just going to end on the note that you said it's our right to say this.
Yes.
And that it's fine if you don't do it.
Yes.
But I'll circle back to that comment by the Prime Minister कि उनके कपड़े से ही पता चल गया.
पता चलने से क्या?
So I think if it was such a jocular, I wish that these issues were only just a jocular dining room conversation.
The bad joke, you mean.
And that it did not have real consequences on the ground.
No,
but it does, sir.
Not at all. Not at all. How can we say, when many of our ministers go with suit and boot, they look like butlers when they go abroad? But we don't tell the ministers, don't. We are BJP. How can you go with a tie and coat and so on? So the fact is, but we do say around, it'll be better if we being BJP and talking about Hindutva and Bharatyata and so on, if we wear Indian clothes. But we don't stop anybody from wearing whatever clothes they want. Of course, there are some limits. You can't walk around the middle of the street in bikini. That you don't have, because there is something called public order which you are disturbing when you go in a bikini. And the law says that these fundamental rights are subject to morality, public order, and public health.
Yes, sir. And we seem to be applying it selectively because, as you just said, the Goli Maro Saloko will be looked at after the elections. So while it may be...
Who said that?
You just said right now, sir.
What?
That we will, the FIR will be filed after the elections.
Oh, you mean about these people? Yeah. They will, FIR will be
Why
filed.
not right away, sir?
I don't know, because this is, there's some model contract or something which says you can't prejudice an election. So this will prejudice an election. So.
Okay. All right, sir.
I'm a lawyer, you must remember that.
The only reason this particular legal argument is not proceeding further is because there's a time limit.
Yeah, sure.
But I'd just like to recap a few of the things that you've said. The economy is in great distress.
Yes.
There's a lot of information coming out of government that is not reliable.
Yes.
There are many claims that are not tenable.
That's right.
We have the highest powers, which is the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, not very open to being told the truth, either publicly or privately, and that the Hindutva project is in full flow. You yourself have advised Mr. Modi in the past that just good governance is not enough.
Yep.
We need to up the emotional quotient.
Yes.
So I'm going to end this and open it up to the audience with one final question, which I began with, which is that the election was won on the Hindutva plank.
Yes.
But now that elections are done, this entire year has gone in foregrounding the Hindutva agenda. Do you think, as we go into 2020, you would advise that we pack up the Hindutva agenda and move into the economic one?
Yeah, I've already said that now the first priority is the economy, because the economy will overshadow everything else. I've already said it.
And are you on record to say you will use your massive influence within government to pull back on the Hindutva agenda?
No, not pull back. Hindutva agenda is more or less achieved. I don't need to do any more. I go around the country, I see people who have accepted Ram Mandir, and maybe Krishna Mandir also, and Kashi Vishwanath.
The Supreme Court has actually put a moratorium on that.
Supreme Court put it, but I'm going to educate the Supreme Court that that law only applies, is an ordinary law. I have a constitutional right where, when I think my faith says Krishna was born here, or the Jyotirling was sent by Shiva to where the Kashi Vishwanath stands. Those are fundamental rights. That law which Narasimha Rao's government passed, that after 47 you can't change anything except the Ram Mandir thing, only applies to where fundamental right is not there. And so I am filing a petition next week to tell the Supreme Court that please, there's a misunderstanding about your saying that nothing after this. These two, after these two, nothing. There are 40,000 temples which have been demolished. We are ready to forget all of them except these three. One is already done, two more to go. And then we will not disturb anybody of their mosques or whatever religious places they have.
I'm not going to put a comment on that. I'll leave all of you to come to your own conclusions about what the new decade holds for us.
Yes.
Let's open this up.
No, you don't worry about yourself. I'll look after you.
I'm actually going to break protocol and start with the first question. Dr. Swamy, thank you very much for,
there you are, there.
Right here, for being a great sport, and Shoma for the spirited discussion. Just coming back to the economy, because I think that impacts a lot of people. Can you get us know what your thoughts on the banking sector?
Yeah.
And because I think that's, whatever I read, I think that's the bedrock of the economy, is to create liquidity and for industry. How bad is the banking sector, and does the government have the fiscal room to recapitalize, bail, whatever the term you want to use, should it need be? What's the way forward with the banking sector?
Well, if the present trends continue, then probably just beyond March 31st, you might see one or two NBFCs just closing down. I mean, just saying that we are bankrupt. And soon after that, if still those trends continue as presently in policy, you'll see at least 3 banks folding up, because the loans that they've given are not coming back. And these are not big Malya type loans. These are loans given to ordinary people. And it's going to be a very bad situation. So,
is it a systemic risk?
This has got nothing to do with cyclic thing. It is systemic in the sense that we have followed bad policies. And those policies have to be rectified. And high interest rate was the beginning part. After that, these disruptions that took place, like this GST and demonetization. And what I would say, if the PM were to call me tonight and say, all right, make an exception, give me one idea, I would say the people's mood is depressed, raise it somehow. And if he asked me how to raise it, I said abolish income tax tonight at midnight. You see? So if he were to ask me where is the money going to come from, I said you auction 2G, 3G, 4G, you will get money. You coal blocks you have not been auctioning at all, you auction it, you will get 3 times the income tax revenue. And you should print notes for public projects like road building and so on, where cash goes straight into the hands of the people who don't have money. So this is what can be done immediately. But we have many other structural problems. We need to put agriculture back as a flourishing sector of our economy. It's got all the potential to be the lead sector for our economy. And the small and medium industries, which employs the bulk of the semi-skilled people, they have to be put back on their feet, and so that employment can start. And there, of course, the interest rate question will come. So there are steps that you can take. But if you think that, you're a blessed one and, everything will be working out, well, I think he's in for a rude shock.
So just a follow-on question to that. two lead indicators that most economists globally and even in India look at is fiscal deficit and inflation. How do you view these? Because it's a little contradictory to what the world looks at, and two of the things that you mentioned will sort of unscramble those two
Yes.
holy grails.
Well,
How do you fix that, and how do you fix the perception of how they get unscrambled?
if there is a demand shortage in the country, fiscal deficit is a stupid idea. It should never be even thought of. There's only these crazies in IMF and all give you lectures on it, and all our pink papers or whatever they're called, economic papers, Business Standard, Economic Times, etc. They give it all big fillip and so on. Don't bother them at all. We have a serious demand problem because people have lost money and they are not in a mood to spend. So you've got to get the cycle moving. Those who have become unemployed are mostly semi-skilled people. And they have to be put back into jobs, and for that you have to lower interest rates so that these industries, the small and medium industries, get back into action. So these are the things that need to be done. Now, I don't care what these foreigners say, because they say, or give me all these hackneyed things which are not applicable at the moment to India's current situation. And I don't know whether they're deliberately doing it or otherwise, but there is no question of thinking of fiscal deficit, and it should be 3%, 4%, all this business that these business channels periodically debate for hours. That's no relevance in the present situation.
Inflation?
What inflation? Inflation has come because of the fact that you have now started having shortage of output. And that's why inflation has come. Our foreign exchange is rising. Why? Because the imports are falling fast. Nobody is wanting to import anymore. You see, all these industries have closed down their import ledgers. So, therefore, you can't look at inflation. What is this inflation due to? It's due to the fact that people are not buying. And therefore, it should be coming down. But the fact of the matter is that this inflation that you see, the component, the inflation is taking place exactly where the shortages have come, where these are essential commodities. Whereas the other side, where people have flexibility whether to buy or not, that is where the cutting is taking place.
There's a question here.
Mr. Swamy, my question is back to the
Put your hand up. Ah, yes.
back to the CAA. Using your logic that
Yes.
persecution was the basis behind the whole CAA, how come we have left Myanmar and Sri Lanka out of the consideration, knowing that we have large amount of persecuted minorities, the Rohingyas and the Tamils?
Good question. This is actually a legacy issue for us. That for years these people were living in camps and not being able to get Aadhaar card, passport, so they couldn't get a job. We had to give them doles to stay in those tents. So this legacy problem, it is not a big problem, 31,000. We did it for that. We didn't think it was going to explode like this. But the fact of the matter is that this is limited, and to those who have been at least 5 years before 31st December 2014. What happens if somebody comes tomorrow and says, I have been religiously persecuted? We'll have to have another amendment. Or, as she said, go through the usual section 6 of this Citizenship Act, which is a longer, more laborious process. So, therefore, when it comes to Rohingyas, I won't touch them with a barge pole. Why? Because 1944, they said, Jinnah is our leader. Then Burma set up the Constituent Assembly and brought named two Rohingyas as the representatives. And both of them said in that we want to go to Pakistan, we don't want to be in Burma. This is their own record. Now, Pakistan doesn't want to take them, so we have become the Dharamshala for all these people. I'm sorry, we cannot take Rohingyas. Under no circumstance we will take the Rohingyas, no matter how much protest there is for them.
May I just say one thing, sir, that when you keep going back to what happened in 1947, that's like holding people hostage to what their grandfathers did.
Yeah.
And that would be like in Germany, those who believed in Hitler and were Nazis, all further generations of Germans now should never change their views. They should have no other identity. They should remain Nazis, frozen in time, because that's what their grandfathers were.
Well, let me answer that. There are 51 countries which are Muslim majority countries now in the world. I don't see why I have to take Rohingyas. I don't have these people have taken. I have a responsibility, because Nehru and Liaquat Ali sat together and promised that there will be no attacks on minorities, and that's why the Hindus, the Sikhs, and the Christians. There are some Christians also in this list, and Parsis. There are 2 Parsis, 2 Buddhists, and 1,000 Christians, 5,000 Sikhs, and 25,000 Hindus. So I think, therefore, we are not a reservoir, we are not a dharamshala for anyone to come here. We have to look after them once they come here. These are people who, if the Rohingyas say that we are being persecuted because you are Muslims in Burma, they should go to where they want. If they want to go to Pakistan, let them go to Pakistan.
We'll take
Pakistan doesn't want, therefore you come to India. No, sorry.
We'll take other questions, but I think you've made very explicit that you're now looking at citizenship as a religious issue.
Well,
as far as... They should go to Muslim majority countries.
No, there is no doubt that the Hindus have no country to go to except India. So...
so what about...
I'm telling you my view. I'm not here to share your views.
Hindus are going to America and rising to great positions of power.
Yes.
They are not going to countries only based on their religion, sir.
Sure.
You are reducing our citizenship to an issue of religion.
They apply for green card and they wait in their line. They leave their wives behind. Will the Rohingyas apply under Section 6? Let them apply under Section 6. We'll consider it.
Should we take the
But
next?
we are not going to let them in as refugees under no circumstance.
Dr. Swamy, I want to ask you, for a country which doesn't have any infrastructure, which is poor, most people don't have water, how come we are so obsessed with useless issues? Religious and caste identity would be definitely important to a section of the population. But it has never really helped a majority of the nation. But we seem to have a lot of political stamina to talk about a lot of bullshit issues. So why is that? And do you believe in a hierarchy of issues?
Yeah. Well, since you posed it in a very general way, I agree with you. And I think it applies to...
You gave him an open ticket on that one.
No, it applies to the people to whom you belong. So that's why I agree with him. So the issue is that is religious identity a useless issue? I didn't find this in 3 things that I did. I got the Chinese to agree to open Kailash Mansarovar. And it was shut for 40, 50 years. And everybody said the Chinese are communists, they'll never agree. But I'm good friends with the Chinese, so Deng Xiaoping, their tallest leader, once invited me to meet him. And he asked me what I can do for you. I said, you open this route. And lo and behold, he opened the route. And it's still open, no matter what the disputes are, they haven't closed it. That went across the country as something on which everywhere I went, people appreciated what I had done. Ram Setu, I saved it. There was celebration around the country. Ram Mandir, everywhere I go, I get now huge public meetings because those who say he's the man who got us the Ram temple. So I would not say that religion is a useless issue of a few people. It's very widespread in our country. But nobody wants a quarrel on that. Nobody wants riots on that. They would like to have it done by a legal process. And we have done it by legal process. And we'll continue to do it by legal process. No Muslim, even the Babri Masjid was demolished. There's a criminal case which we relaunched. It had been, during the time when Vajpayee was in power, it lapsed. UPA did nothing. It is Mr. Modi who got it reinstituted. Of course, there are some people who
Is
say that Advani and...
Is that because Mr. Advani is...
exactly, they are doubting Thomases like her. We do a good work, she starts looking under the petticoat, you know,
No,
it's not a...
So I have to bring some subjectivity to the conversation. You can't have sole propriety on that.
So I'm saying that our commitment, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter, but this is our commitment. We will never physically enforce anything to do with Hindutva on the people of India. We think that by argument, we will be able to do it. My own feeling, because I have a son-in-law who is a Muslim, so I have frank discussions with their family. And they are from Aligarh on top of that. And they, from their talk, they all want to be accepted as a part of India, and they don't want to be pushed into proving their patriotism. So that I understand, and that is the way we want to go. But we can't help it if we have people who say all kinds of awful things. There are a lot of people, Congress people, who say lots of awful things. What they have said about Modi, his wife, and all these things, you see, these happen in politics, in democratic politics. It happens in the United States, it happens in England. In fact, England is much worse. So, therefore, please don't be carried away by this rhetoric. Question is on action. If you think that CAA is an indication of our Hindu fascism, then you haven't read the CAA. You don't know its background. You say anything. Did we do it on Ram Temple? No. We could have done it. We've done it by force. In fact, Narasimha Rao's government had nationalized the whole land. We could have told the court, go to hell. We'll give you compensation, whoever wins the case, but this land belongs to the state, and the state is giving it to the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. We could have done that, but we didn't do it. We fought it in the court. And therefore, this is our tradition, the Hindu tradition, which is called the Shastrat, which means by argument. Shankaracharya reconverted the whole of India from Buddhism to Hinduism just by discussion, by debate. That's our tradition, and nobody can change that. And I tell you, I know the RSS very, very well. None of them want to do anything violent to make people change to our point of view.
That's reassuring, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I just have a comment and then a question. The first comment I have is I think we are a very tolerant country, because try to build a temple in Makkah, Medina, you would know what it is.
No, you can't build a temple anywhere in Saudi Arabia.
Or try to build anything else in Rome.
Yeah.
You can't do it. So I think as a society, like you're putting it, I think we are very tolerant. And I think it's come a long way that we finally have a Ram Mandir, or we have Kashmir. And like you, I would give A+ to Modi for that. Now, coming back to, sir, 2 questions. Number 1, you said everybody around Modi is dumb. Who's the dumbest? That's one. And second question is, sir,
he wants me to make more enemies than I have.
You won't have. You have enough power in Supreme Court.
You just declared yourself the second most popular person in the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
No enemies, sir.
No. That causes jealousy also.
And second question I have, sir, is which I am very strongly in line with you, is abolishing income tax.
Oh.
Because I'm paying 40%, I make good money, and that's why I pay 40%.
Yeah, it's
And
too much.
It's too much, number 1. And I don't have a proper healthcare system or infrastructure, which gentleman was talking about back there.
Yeah.
Why should I be paying 40% while a shopkeeper hides his taxes? It hits me, right? So when are you going to get that done, sir, and who's the dumbest?
The day you make me finance minister, as soon as I enter the office, I will write down income tax abolished, request to the CR. So, and I'll say that the CRP may go and put a lock on all income tax offices. The income tax is a out-of-date concept, because there are numerous other ways you can raise money. And I've already proved in 2G, the spectrums have been now auctioned, and we are getting equal to what we are getting from income tax. And that's an additional item. We may be now spending more, and therefore we are still in shortage, but that's not the fact that we don't have. Coal blocks we have not yet auction, you will get 11 lakh crores, which is 3 times that of the income tax. And income taxes are not paid by in agriculture. It is not paid by those below the line. And the very rich have chartered accountants, which you don't have. So they can make black look white, white look black. They can, they don't pay much income taxes either. And in fact, Dhirubhai Ambani till 1996 never paid 1 rupee income tax. So, and the Birlas used to pay for a long time only 18,000 a year in taxes. So the system is against this middle class, upper middle class, these startup guys, these young people who have come up, set up. The system is worked against the middle class. This is our backbone. This is our real democratic layer in the population. And this is the thing that we have to encourage and get rid of their pessimism and do something for them. And that is directly, because everything else is a filter down, we have to go wait for centuries. This one, the day you do it, immediately it affects you. And the spirit will come up, and that's why I'm for it.
The dumbest in the cabinet.
Well, I can't say that because the one I leave out as the dumbest, he may take it personally, you see. So why annoy somebody else? Well, I don't want to get, I won't say it. Maybe next time.
Good evening, Mr. Swamy.
Where are you? I can't.
I'm here.
Right there?
This way,
Ah,
this
yes,
way,
right.
I am a great admirer of you as a great economist and a great Indian. But my question is a little bit different. Today, are we having, or do we have an Indian government or a Hindu government?
Well, we got Muslim ministers, I can name 1 or 2. Hindus are 82%. Huh? So even if we had a Hindu government, that's a huge percentage of population that we represent. We have to measure this government as Hindu or Muslim depending on anything that's concretely done against the Muslims. Triple Talaq was not done against the Muslims. It was in favor of gender equality, and it was upheld by the courts. Is there anything else? We have the way we subject our temples to scrutiny for financial affairs. There's not one Muslim institution, whether it's a masjid or the Waqf board, which government has ever subjected to any scrutiny whatsoever. Same thing with churches. So what is it that we have done? We have not changed any of that. That was there before, and that's continuing. We can today take over Waqf boards, saying that you have been financially misappropriated as the government has taken over temples. We have not done it. We can take over churches, because the churches are not maintaining accounts. And many of them, the Catholic churches are sending money to the Vatican. We have not taken action against them. So, therefore, please don't say that we are a Hindu government. The complaint of most of our cadre is we are not sufficiently Hindu. And we came on the grounds that we will represent the Hindus. And the Hindus, I am fighting a case on making Ram Setu a national heritage monument. The Supreme Court has issued notice to the government only day before yesterday. And this government is resisting. I have told Mr. Modi, there is no masjid there, there is no church there. What are you hesitating about? But I don't know why he's hesitating, but he's hesitating. But I'll get it from the courts. That's not a problem. Even Ram Temple, he hesitated. It's only after I got it going on a new plateau, new framework of faith, and the whole judgment is only on faith. Then only he came into the picture, and even then he did not give the land which is already in the hands of the government to the Ram Janmabhoomi Nyaya Samiti and say, start constructing now. The sanctum sanctorum will build later, after the court case is over. So still he is called a Hindu fanatic. He is not at all a Hindu fanatic, in my opinion.
So in fact, you said that this is the plank we came on. He came on the plank of Sabka Haath, Sabka Vikas,
That's right.
Sabka Vishwas.
That's right.
And that's what we're holding him to.
Yeah, you can, because he has failed in that. The Vikas is all gone.
And Vishwas as well.
That is, I'm not sure. I think, I find even today people say Modi ठीक आदमी है, परंतु उसके पास सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी नहीं है, finance minister, इसीलिए इसका लिए problem हो रहा है.
We're going to get some dinner for Mr. Swamy. I think he's looking tired.
No, it's okay. I know, I'm not tired. I'm a professor essentially. I can speak for 6 hours without problem.
But no, I'd like to, if you could conclude.
Yeah. There was one last question at the bar.
Actually, there was one last question. If you don't, give it to Rajiv and then.
You want to pitch in? Yeah, sir. Make
We can have 2 questions and then we finish.
one for me, one for him.
Yeah, together we'll ask question.
Okay. Make in India and ease of doing business in India has been touted for 2 reasons. One, we get a lot of foreign investments and create new capacities, and also to create a lot of new employment. Now, what we see is that 90% of the foreign investment that is coming in whatever form is acquiring brownfield assets where investments have already been made and they are mature.
Yeah.
We don't see any greenfield investment in a large way coming into India.
Agreed.
Do you agree that a lot
I
needs to be
agree.
done here?
I agree. And why am I fighting on Air India privatization? Because Air India is such an old airline, I mean old means in terms of chronology, that it has got the largest number of aero bridges in Heathrow. It has got hangars all over the world. It's got the best routes any airline can want. And they are saying that it's making loss, so we are selling. It's a government airline. If the government airline is making losses, the government is responsible. But they have decided to sell it. But they will not be able to sell it because I have warned them that I'll go to court. And buyers are now saying Swamy goes to court. We have already had they're having a hell of a problem on Air Asia and Vistara because they are both illegal airlines, and they will be closed down. And therefore, I don't think they are going to get buyers for even now. But the fact is this mentality that you allow these foreigners to come and give you second-hand or vintage technology, and we take it as great for foreign direct investment. That's not going to get you to make in India. Make in India is where you, from the beginning, you give them capital which has risk in it, and the government bears the risk. Encourage the people to do their own thing. Desalination of seawater is such a simple thing for our people to do. I know people who want to desalinate seawater along the coast of Tamil Nadu, but they are not getting money from the banks because the banks can't believe that you can desalinate seawater. The Israelis are living on desalinated seawater. Saudi Arabians have borrowed Israeli technology to have desalinated water. So therefore, there is something basically wrong. And the problem is Modi doesn't have people to delegate these things to. There are all these yes men who come in and they get promoted and they will never, they'll never be a threat to the people in power. That is the kind of people. And we have to redo this whole thing later. But first, let's get out of the mess we are in.
Should we?
Right here. So last question, I believe. You talked about printing money as the solution to the economic malaise we have. And my question is that's a very classical Keynesian way of solving the problem. But do you think as a country and as a political system, we are mature enough that if we go down that path, would we know when to dial that back?
Well, we are only asking him to make roads. And what is the sanctity of 3% fiscal deficit? Where did you get this number from? I asked the IMF people, they don't know. Just they picked up 3%. And we passed a law during the UPA period called Fiscal Management Act or something. The same brainless guy called Chidambaram. He says 3%. Why? I don't believe that if I gave money to a workman to build a road, that money will not then later on help him to sustain if the economy starts pulling up, shops start coming on the highway, he gets a shop to sell. This economic cycle is a magical thing once you get it started. And that's what we did in 1990, the same problem we had. And the solution I suggested is right now, abolish all licenses, abolish all quotas. And all the bureaucrats told us you are causing chaos, you will never be able to recover your position. And that led to the boom. The only mistake that Narasimha Rao made was he did not provide for some projects where the middle class and the lower middle class would immediately see a benefit. Even him, I told him, abolish income tax. The middle class will be damn happy with you. And all this propaganda that you're doing this for the rich people, it will all subside. But that ultimately, despite the miracle he produced, he lost the election. Because the propaganda was so strong that he's doing this all for rich people, that he lost the election. So, therefore, we need to do these things in a way where the people suddenly feeling, things are changing. The psychology has to be changed in the country today. It's one of depression. And then on we can think of technical measures for the future.
So let's end this on that note. I started by saying this is a new month of a new decade, of a new century. Let's hope at least one thing Mr. Modi does is make Mr. Swamy the finance minister very quickly. So he is gainfully occupied.
You better give him a guarantee I won't topple him afterwards.
And then he'll be very gainfully occupied. You mentioned, sir, that you are a proponent of Hindu Renaissance. My fervent plea to you would be do articulate it as a renaissance, not as an act of dominance. And perhaps our next fourth quartet of our conversation will be a very compliant one, not a combative one. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody. Good night.